The Starr and D'Amico Show, brought to you by cheapesttshirts.ca. Need blanks for your next event or club? Check out cheapesttshirts.ca. No minimum order, free shipping over $350. Same-day shipping on lots of items. Affordable, Canadian, ready to print your design. Brought to you by Catherine Prince at Remax Platine, your Montreal real estate connection. Call her at 514-702-2474 or email Catherine with a K, Catherine at catherineprince.com. If you're looking to buy, sell, or invest with confidence, Catherine Prince, your key to the city's property market. Brought to you by McLean's Pub. Looking for a lively downtown spot with great food and atmosphere? Come to McLean's Pub on Peel Street. Classic pub eats, plenty of beer, and all the sports on all the screens. Grab your friends and make McLean's your go-to place tonight. Brought to you by Cabletel, your full-service telecom partner for business and home. From structured cabling and phone systems to Wi-Fi, cameras, and alarms, Cabletel keeps you connected, secure, and performing at your best. Your partner for the future. It's Cabletel. There's Marco D'Amico. I'm Shaun Starr. Welcome to a brand new week. We've got lots to get to today. Big shout out to all of our sponsors and thank you for all your loyalty. Big shout out to our friends Chuck and Evie and the wonderful staff at Little Bear at littlebearonline.com on St. Catherine across from Westmount Square. Don't forget, it's holiday time, right? Black Friday savings. And just because you get things for the kiddies, Marco, you got to get something for the, I cringe when I say this, the fur babies. As a Little Bear has all your needs, bedding, toys, all the best brands from around the world. There he goes as he leaves the screen. Anytime I do that, it's, Marco has to do a little bit of a reset, like my dog shaking himself off. Marco, what's good, brother?
I mean, this isn't the season to only take care of your pets. There's also taking care of yourself. If you want to go and get yourself a really good jacket, Canuck jackets right now in Montreal, as of tomorrow, November 25th, they have their Black Friday sales up to 40% off their jackets. So I invite everybody to go and check them out as well. This is the time. I mean, it's starting to get cold. It is legitimately snowing as we're recording. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't get caught in negative 20-degree weather. Go check out Canuck jackets.
So, Marco, the Montreal Canadiens looks like they finally bolstered their forward depth. Let's talk about the acquisition of forward Alex Texier and what type of player can the Montreal Canadian fans anticipate to watch once Martin St. Louis fills his name out in the lineup card here? What are we talking about?
Yeah, well, I mean, you're looking at a bottom six winger. This is a guy they're bringing in for depth, some experience as well. They don't want to lean too hard on four rookies in their lineup on a regular basis. So this is a guy that you can kind of move up and down your bottom six and not kind of hurt the team. He brings a good amount of speed, something the Canadians feel they lack on their bottom six right now.
Yeah.
But by no means is this like a savior move, right? Like
No.
this is bringing some depth. Only 1 point through 8 games, I believe, with the Blues. Someone who battled a lot of adversity and health issues over the last couple of years, moving from Columbus to St. Louis. But again, this isn't an energy player. He's got skill. And the Canadians feel like this kind of depth for free.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, these kinds of players, you're paying like a fourth or fifth or sometimes a third round pick for. So to get them for free makes a ton of sense. But again, like, you have to understand it from the St. Louis Blues perspective. A lot of people have said to me, well, if the Canadians were interested in Alex Texier, why didn't they just grab him off waivers?
Right.
Well, to understand that, you have to understand the money aspect of it. Alex Texier, prior to the termination of his contract, was on a $2.1 million deal. And unless you're getting incentivized, no one's taking $2 million for a player that on the St. Louis Blues, who are a bottom three team in the NHL at this moment, if he can't crack their lineup because it's just not jiving, it's not working, you're not going to pay to take that on. But if you can get it for free, then you absolutely can throw a near league minimum contract at him, like 1.5 million, and it ain't going to hurt you. And, the Canadians can hold on to him for depth, trade him later. Like it affords them so much more flexibility now. But the main thing with Tessier is he does bring certain elements of experience and speed that this lineup was sorely missing after the loss of someone like Alex Newhook to the bottom. Well, Alex Newhook was basically playing on a de facto second line, but it adds a little bit more jump is all I got to say. It's not a savior situation. Again, like this isn't someone that's going to come in and suddenly redefine the Canadians the way that it was projected, or the way that it was looked at when Alex Carrier was traded to the Canadiens last year, where he like rebalanced the Canadiens defense core. This isn't it. This is a good depth piece that the Canadiens wanted so that they were less reliant on Laval to bring up guys that they felt needed a little bit more seasoning.
For me, I think that's the money takeaway here.
Mhm.
Reading more about Alex Texier and wondering, okay, what type of player here are the Canadians putting hands on? From what I've read across the board, right? And listen, I'm not trying to pretend I'm a scout or anything else. I just try to do my own research, as they say. Forechecking seems to lack. Not someone that's known for their defensive awareness, but very good, as Marco alluded to, in the speed, good in open ice, good in transition. And I think the take home is it leaves Laval kind of air quote alone from now. And is it fair to ask the question, by the Canadians acquiring this 26-year-old, and as you point out, 8 games, 1 assist, and no goals with the St. Louis Blues before he was put on waivers, that he is better than any option that the Canadians management could look at from Laval, including someone like Shaun, etc.
Yeah, I mean, I think a signing like this allows them to send a guy like Joshua Roy down back to Laval to help him
Oof.
work on his game rather than being an extra forward.
Yeah.
With the Canadians, there's an opportunity, for example, to slide Florian Jacki into the 4C role, and maybe Joe Veleno or Jared Davidson skips a game. Although
Hmm.
I've liked Jared Davidson, and just to be clear, I understand fans as well being like, why why sign Carrier? Sorry, why sign Texier
Yeah.
in this situation when Davidson seems to be playing well? Florian Jacki had a really good game on Saturday. Like, where's the need? Well, I think the Canadians also feel like bringing up guys is fun, but some of them are just not at their peak in terms of development. I think of Florian, for example. I
Yeah.
understand the temptations of fans to keeping a guy like Florian in the lineup, but management also doesn't want to bring a guy up too early, have the adrenaline run through, because believe you me, Florian Jacki was playing with adrenaline on Saturday.
Hmm.
And then when things come back down to earth, kind of take a step back. Like that's the thing as a manager of a sporting team that you have to take into consideration, because sometimes the impulse and the instant gratification of the first 2 or 3 games,
Hmm.
yes, it's fun. Yes, it's something to sink your teeth into. But if there's a drop off later on, man, everybody's gonna look back on you and be like, "You rushed him." So
Right. Right.
this is why you want to add a veteran piece, depth, someone that will be able to kind of come in and stabilize a bottom six line. Because again, like right now, the Canadians are playing Joe Veleno, who is, let's call a spade, a 13th forward at this stage in his career,
Hmm.
and two rookies, or or a Brendan Gallagher, depending on how they rotate the lines. So it gives Martin St. Louis more options, and I think it adds, like we talked about, that element of speed. We've seen Josh Anderson and Jake Evans play with a little bit more speed. Joe Veleno had some legs as well, but I feel like
Hmm.
that's an element that's been missing in the bottom six since Newhook got injured.
So, if we go back and we look at Alex Tessier's kind of career, 240 games at the NHL level, 40 career
Mhm.
goals, 91 career points. His best season came in 2023, 2024, when he was a member of Columbus, played 78 games that year and had 30 points and 12 goals. If
Mhm.
he hits his stride and finds a groove under Martin St. Louis system, we're talking about like a top 9 player, like a third line winger. Are
Yeah,
you
a
more
third line
inclined to
winger.
to project that as opposed to being a winger on the fourth line, replacing either a Davidson or a Joe Veleno, so to speak?
Well, I think he'd be taking their spot regardless, and then you bump somebody down, right? Like we
Yeah.
saw on Saturday that it was Evans, Anderson, Florian Jacki. Well,
Right.
I think that combination worked well. So maybe it is bumping out a Davidson or other from the fourth line, now fourth line, because the Canadians are basically missing an entire forward line at this point.
Mhm.
Um, and then you work from there. It is again a question of depth. I will continue to say this. One injury to the Montreal Canadiens, you're basically removing an entire forward line from the Laval Rocket at this
E
stage. In fact,
Exactly.
they
Yeah.
have removed an entire forward line because Davidson, Roy, and Florian Jacquet were on the roster on Saturday night. Do you really want to continue to take more from them right now? With if it wasn't for the fact that the Laval Rocket have a strong goaltending and defensive brigade, I
Hmm.
don't even want to know what it would look like over the last couple of weeks. So it's something they keep in mind when they make evaluations like this. They would rather throw a contract. And this is the other thing with the Canadiens. They are the team with the fewest amount of registered contracts in the Eastern Conference. They have 42 contracts, while the rest of the league has 45, 46. Why is that important? It's details, but basically
Yeah.
the Canadiens had the most amount of leeway in terms of being able to add players in the season, both from a cap space perspective, but also from a contract slot perspective. In the
Hmm.
past,
Hmm.
they've been closer to 47, 48, and they've always left that kind of amount open just in case they had NCAA guys that wanted to jump ship at the end of the season, like we saw with Lane Hudson, Sean Farrell, etc. Well, even if Michael Hage makes the jump to the NHL this season and takes a contract slot at the end of the year, they have tons of leeway. In fact, I would say that leaving themselves at 42 contracts out of 50 left them exposed from a depth perspective because you could have given out an extra contract or two to a bottom six player and kept them as an extra forward, but then the argument becomes, well, you could have subject them to waivers. Example, Sami Blais being picked up by the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Right.
So there's two sides to the same coin in this case with the Habs. I totally understand it. But when the injuries hit, this is when it hurts. This is why there was interest in Alex Texier,
Hmm.
because it's free. It's free depth that you would normally have to pick up, for a draft pick. Well, you're getting it for free. So understanding that from the Canadians, it's great. And I think that when there is a little bit of change, especially with the way that they were playing Saturday and the way that they were talking about in the room, bring in
Hmm.
that wind of change as you're about to undertake a pretty intense road trip in the Southwest of the United States. I think it makes perfect sense in that moment. And it's a no risk move for Kent Hughes, right?
Totally. Yes.
What happens if things go bad? Waive him.
Yes.
And he won't count against, he'll count very little, if not at all, against your salary cap when and if waived. And at that point, you could trade him as well. Teams will be looking for depth. The Canadians could do what they need to do in that regard. But I still think this is a nice insurance policy to allow the Canadians to be able to weather the storm of the injuries and waiting for Kirby Doc to come back in January, and then the Patrick Laine's and the Alex Newhooks in March.
And to me, that's, I think at that level, right, with management, they constantly weigh the risk reward ratio. And, as you outlined, I kind of see it the same way. There's really no pushback there in terms of the risk versus the potential of the reward. And I
Yeah.
wonder again about the motivating factor behind this decision from the Montreal Canadiens. And you're looking at a guy in Tessier who has a career 11% shooting percentage. And in that year,
Mm-hmm.
his career
What?
year in 2023, he had 12 goals, but had 109 shots. And he has a reputation of kind of a shoot first guy. How much of that do you think was a motivating factor to take the small risk in bringing this guy here? As you and I talk about this, they need more volume, and here's a guy, Marco, that comes in with that shoot first mentality. I have to believe that was an attractive aspect of this man's game that the
Yeah.
Canadians like and need.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you need that speed,
Yeah.
right? What you look at the way that the Canadians' bottom six have been playing since Newhook went down. Like, outside of Uri Slavkovsky looking like prime Yaromir Jagr on Saturday, what you don't really see anybody outside of the top line enter the zone with possession,
Hmm.
right? It's very rare. It's the top two lines right now, and that's it.
Right.
So having a guy like Tessier is going to be able to execute the zone entries, that's going to be able to use his mobility to release pressure on the defensive side of the puck. Like, there are aspects like that he could help. The only thing that I reserve a little bit of, like, I don't want to like start waving and saying this is a great move. It is a depth move.
Oh,
Like,
yes. Yeah.
I don't want to run away with this narrative. It's a depth move for at this stage of his career, fourth line player that's going to be able to to be an extra body in the lineup and help this team, I think, be a little bit more difficult to contain in the offensive zone and in transition. And
And
I
more
think that's great.
experience, more
Yeah, and
experience,
I
more
think that's
NHL
great.
experience.
And it affords certain prospects in the Montreal Canadiens pipeline a little bit more time. I understand, again, the temptations from fans that want to see a lot of these guys in the lineup right away. But as an NHL coach, you can understand that Martin St. Louis does not want to ice 4 rookies in his lineup. This is not a recipe for success in today's NHL. They're not at a point where they want to teach them. This isn't, they're not in that stage of their rebuild anymore. They would rather they simmer in the American Hockey League than come up ready. Though I will say this, Martin St. Louis did say that he's been impressed with how ready the prospects have been when
Yeah.
they've come up to the NHL from Laval. So there is an appreciation there, but you can only go so far with so many youngsters. It's exciting when you're a fan of a team that's rebuilding, but it's not conducive to long-term winning because eventually the adrenaline comes down.
Fun days ahead for the Montreal Canadiens after a strong, very strong showing at home to snap a 5-game winless streak and thumping the Toronto Maple Leafs in a 5-2 final. We'll have, of course, lots more to discuss as the week moves on, as the Montreal Canadiens hit the road coming up. They've got games on Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday this week. And Marco and I will be here, blanket-style coverage, as the Montreal Canadiens hope to build on that momentum from Saturday night. You can follow Marco D'Amico on all your favorite socials at MN D'Amico and read the latest over at rg.org. Marco, thanks as always, brother.